Okay guys, this chapter did a lot of things, and I'm gonna get into the Sanji stuff in the end here, cause while that is probably all we need to talk or we want to talk about, there are other things in this chapter as well. So let me start with Big Mom's family, because we get a lot of them. Get reintroduced to a lot of characters, and we got introduced to a lot of characters. We have the shot I'm at right now, where we basically have the enraged army going after Luffy because he defeated Cracker. And let me just say right now, I have no clue how Luffy will get out of this, because by the end of the chapter, he's fighting these guys, like, he's fighting them, he has Nami kind of backing him up, I'm guessing, and then Baum just being there looking. I don't know where Pound went again. Was that a thing that happened, that he disappeared in the last or 2 chapters ago? I don't know. I don't see how Luffy's gonna get out of this alive. If he was like fully charged with energy, I could see this go down, because these are not like commander level, these are not actually Big Mom, these are her sons and daughters and a few like random soldiers. So I would accept that a fully charged Luffy could beat these guys. Maybe not easily, but he could beat them. But the fact of the matter is, many of these guys have had Oda boxes, and like a character like Bobbin has been pretty hyped for a long time. Swords Girl has been hyped up for a long time. We met like the Demon Girl and the Whipped Cream guy last chapter, and they seem pretty strong as well. And Luffy just doesn't have the energy to fight these guys. I don't understand how he'll get out of this. And like, as much as I want to see an epic Conqueror's Haki moment or something like that, Big Mom's children though? Wow, I'm not gonna talk about Luffy and Nami, like, I'm gonna talk about them a little, but not in the fight sense, cause what even? Feel free to leave your, like, ideas to how the fuck they'll get out of this, because I actually don't see it. Like, realistically, like, this is a manga, but realistically speaking, I don't see how they're gonna get out of this without help. Unless Nami can like call all the homies together and they can do something. I don't know. I don't know. Let's move on. We also get introduced to some of the younger children of Big Mom, such as Anana. And apparently Big Mom isn't really a fan of her, because she wants to kill her, and she says that everyone has 100 or 200 people they want to kill. Get over that fact. And apparently, like, everyone in this crazy family, everyone in this family is just crazy. They are lunatics, the whole bunch of them, and that's really fun. But I am guessing that these children will play a bigger role now that not only do we have a name, but one of them wants to mutilate stuffed animals. What the hell is wrong with these guys? Also, let me just like point out the fact that they were like, oh, Big Mom is gonna be so mad that Cracker was taken out, and she's just sent her armies like happily going to the tea party. She doesn't seem that mad, to be honest. Like, she sent Prometheus and Zeus, but I don't know, maybe Nami could take those on, because if they're homies, I mean, obviously she has the Vivi card, and if they're like upgraded homies, she's a weather girl. I don't know. I feel like that they'd be good matchups for Nami, because that's not Big Mom herself, but they're like top tier homies. Right, so let's talk about Nami and Sanji for a bit. I'm gonna keep everything short that's not Sanji related, because I feel like, I don't know, I kind of want to keep this short, because this is once again one of those chapters. I won't be doing a bonus thing this time, but I feel like this chapter especially is gonna be really weird without the official translation, because there's so much crucial text, and I just don't trust when chapters are out a day early, but yeah. But we have, in the beginning of the chapter and throughout the chapter, we see Luffy and Nami, and we have in the beginning where Nami's just kind of sitting, hugging her legs, talking calmly to Luffy, looking a bit sad. I find her composure interesting. Because I cannot figure out what she actually wants. Like, she wants them to survive at this point. Everything she's arguing for right now is just for the two of them to survive because they have an army incoming. But she's not asking Luffy to go save Sanji, neither is she asking Luffy to just leave with her. Like, she's doing neither of those things, and I find that so interesting because the big question we had about Nami for last time was, did she believe Sanji's words? How hurt was she by it? Did she really like cut him off? Like, what was the deal with Nami and Sanji in the last chapter? And this chapter gives no answers whatsoever. Which kind of annoys me, but I mean, it makes it intriguing, I guess, but I really wanted, like, just one statement from Nami about Sanji's situation. Like, where does she stand right now? Because at this point in time, like, with her composure in this chapter, it just looks like she must have made up her mind at this point. Like, if she was actually hurt and sad in the last chapter, she should have either gotten time to either stick with that opinion, or she should have gotten time to think about it and be like, oh, wait a minute, there's probably a reason for all this shit, so again, just left with nothing here. This chapter has me so baffled, you have no clue, because I think what I've learned from doing this is that when you have to review a chapter, like, some chapters are really easy to get into and like come to some kind of conclusion. Even if that conclusion ends up being proven wrong, you can still kind of like make your predictions and stuff like that. But then there are chapters like these where I just find it so hard to rationally figure out what I think will happen next, how I think these characters feel. Like, the only one I'm completely sure on this chapter, and I'm gonna be completely honest, the only one I have a feeling as to what they feel and know and think and stuff like that is Luffy. I honestly I mean, they're the obvious, like, the villains, like Josh and Big Mom, because their motives are really obvious, but like, the Straw Hats, Pudding, I don't know exactly, like, how, maybe Pudding, but I feel like she's, I said in my live reaction that now I really like Pudding, but I'm gonna talk about this when I get to Sanji, but something about her is off. But yeah. No, wait, I'm just gonna go into Sanji bit now. As I am very luckily for this chapter not a very big YouTuber, I am guessing that all of you watching this right now have watched other reviews before you watched this video, which means you've already gotten the opinion, or even if it wasn't their opinion, just like their suggestion that, oh, this is not good for Sanji's character, we are very disappointed in how he looks at this because obviously Luffy's gonna save him or someone's gonna save, like, there's no escaping from the Straw Hats, let's all agree on that. So you've probably already concluded that, okay, Sanji, you're really an idiot if you really think that your friends are just gonna stand by as you descend into hell. There is no fucking way. And yes, Luffy just said that he'd stay and, like, not do anything, but that in itself should be a big clue as to what is Sanji even thinking in this chapter. Cause he just said, like, there are so many conflicting things about Sanji, which I really want you to, like, before you say, and I mean, keep in mind, I am a Sanji fangirl, I am super biased, but keep in mind that we really shouldn't judge what's going on until we get some definite answers. Cause yes, Sanji said in this chapter, you know what, I'm just gonna go with the flow, gonna let this marriage thing happen and do my best to ensure that my crew doesn't go down with me. The problem with this is, he can't make those two things function. There is no way in hell he can both go along with the marriage and make sure his friends doesn't get hurt. Because what Luffy did in the last chapter, there is no way for this to even make sense. And just, I have read the ending of this chapter so many times now, and I'm gonna tell you straight off the bat, I don't trust anything anymore. Because the thing is, I can understand if this is Sanji being sincere, I can understand that from his character perspective, because he is incredibly self-sacrificial. Like, it's ridiculous how kind and how little he thinks of himself. And like 2 chapters ago he was like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't tell you I was a prince because I was afraid you'd develop an inferiority complex. I think the one with the inferiority complex is Sanji. What the hell? But aside from that, there's just something off, because let me just like let's go through what Sanji said, some of the things and the problem with this is because I'm gonna do a little bit of close reading now, which is really shit to do in Scanlations, but I have no choice. So the first thing that I just find so odd with the conversation that Sanji has with Pudding, and I'm just gonna stay with this now because there are things before this as well, but I'm gonna start with just this conversation with Pudding and then we're gonna do it whatever after that. I can both understand, yet I also feel really weird about the fact that Sanji is so freakishly calm in this situation. He is calm and treating Pudding in a very, very weird way. And I'm gonna point something out to you, and again, because I have the knowledge that you have all seen other reviews, I purposely decide to go a little too far here. But I think it's important to get all perspectives. But I think Sanji went a little too far in trying to make Pudding feel sorry for him. Does that make sense? Because Sanji treats women very with much kindness, and he'd do anything to make them happy and stuff like that. But I feel like he just dumped his entire sad backstory on Pudding, like, oh, I never felt any happiness, but the people who gave me happiness, I have to separate myself from them now, and I have to stop my adventures, and it's also very sad, and now I have to go back into hell. Like, he literally said that, now I'm back in hell. And I just feel like if he really just wanted to go along with this, he could just have told her, you know what, this isn't that bad, let's get married. What's the fucking point in his entire speech to her? Because the thing is, she was already on his side, or maybe not, I'm gonna go back into that, but if anyone needed to hear this, it would be literally anyone else who doesn't believe that he'd just marry her? I mean, because he says, and to make matters worse, as of this very moment, I don't have a single ally to count on. Isn't he going a bit too far trying to make Pudding his ally? I mean, I just find this so weird, the setup of things, and because again, what was actually the point in Sanji showing his face, telling him, my family hates me, if not to get sympathy? I mean, for me, that's not what Sanji's character is, so that might not have been what he tried to do here. He might just have like been honest with her, like, this is my situation now, if we're gonna get married, you might as well know. But again, I want to take a different take on this because you've already heard this. The next thing I want to point your attention to, this just keeps going. Sanji says, I've carefully weighed my option, but there's no place for me to run. That's why I've decided to quit struggling and just go with the flow. In exchange, I wanted Big Mom to let my friends off her hook. But instead of that, at this very moment, they're all out there trying to find a way to destroy them. Now, again, this is a scanlation, but let's say that this is remotely close to what it actually said in the Japanese speech bubbles. If we take this means that before Luffy arrived, Sanji had decided to just quit. Like, fuck this shit. I'm just not gonna struggle anymore because if I do, someone I love is going to die. And that's very rational of him to think that way because I would honestly do the exact same in his situation. But the thing is here, after he decided that, then Luffy came, because he says, but instead of that, at this very moment, they're all out there trying to find and destroy them. Meaning, he knows that Luffy is just, like, if he stays in that place, shit is gonna go towards him. And again, Sanji did not want that. He wanted the Straw Hats to leave this island alive. Like, it's this exact, okay, I have hated we're comparing this to Annie's lobby. You all know this, but it is literally what Robin did when she was like, I'm gonna give myself to you, and in exchange, you will allow the Straw Hat to leave this island safe. Of course, they didn't. The works that backfired them because they left Water 7 safely, but then they got to Annie's lobby, so now it's okay for us to beat them up. Like, but the problem here is Sanji knows the Straw Hats have no way out of this anymore because because Luffy beat an enemy commander and there's no coming back from that. Like, so there's just no way for Sanji to ensure that they're gonna be safe no matter what he does. And he says in this chapter, they're all my saviors. I don't want any harm to come to them. On top of that, Luffy literally gave up his dream in the last chapter for Sanji's sake, saying that without Sanji, he can't become the Pirate King. We know those words hurt Sanji because he literally broke down and cried. Do you really think, and on top of that there's the hunger strike, but do you really think that Sanji, when Luffy has not only given up his dream but also has threatened to starve himself to death, do you really think that Sanji's just gonna let him do that? He knows how stubborn Luffy is. I mean, he could like wiggle his way around this, just give Luffy some food and then go back to Big Mama Mary Pudding. He could do that. But do you really think that'll happen? I just really don't trust anything anymore. And the thing is, I'm aware of how crazy I sound right now. Like, you don't need to tell me in the comments, you can do that of course, but you don't need to tell me to let me know, cause I know how crazy I sound. But again, I just want to give you a different perspective, but I still don't trust this. And again, he literally told her with this marriage he will be so incredibly unhappy. Like, he says, until 13 years ago I lived in pure hell. I've returned to that hell now, but during those 13 years I was away, I was greeted with a lifestyle that allowed me to be incredibly happy. Having gained Pudding's sympathy, of course she wouldn't want to marry him now. Like, of course. And of course, yeah, there's a thing in the end where he's like, you're my only savior, which would make sense because, let's be honest here, if Sanji was to get married, he literally couldn't ask for anyone better than Pudding. She would literally be his saving grace. But, and I mean, if you couldn't tell already, and if you, this is the first video you've seen on I got a lot of subscribers like this past week, so you might not know, but you can probably tell at this point, I am very, 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 very much against Sanji and Pudding getting married. And there are like a ton of reasons why I'm against this. But the main reason is basically just that these two people are literally perfect for each other. And they're not even perfect for each other. I feel like they are too perfect for each other. Like, what are the chances? Let's describe Sanji's ideal girl. That ideal girl is probably Pudding. Like, forget who you ship Sanji with. His ideal girl, if he had to describe her, would probably be Pudding. Life does not work that way, I don't believe. Like, I just think it'd be so weird. And let's all just, like, agree on something here. There's no one here who believes that by the end of this arc, Sanji will not be a Straw Hat. Like, let's be fucking honest here. No one believes that. Like, regardless of whether you believe he'll go through with the marriage and whatever will happen, he'll be a Straw Hat. He hasn't even officially left the crew yet, but he'll be a Straw Hat, no doubt. And the problem with getting married to Pudding are so many, it's ridiculous. Like, first of all, there are still things that I just said, like, they're too perfect for each other, that doesn't make sense in my mind, I don't want it to happen. And she could still join the Straw Hats, something which I'm still against. But, I mean, you can think whatever you want, I don't think that will happen though. But the major problem with the two of them getting married, even if in best case scenario they were like married and Big Mom was like, well, now that you're married, we kind of all got what we wanted, so you can just happily go along and be a straw hat or whatever you want. Like, even in best case scenario, we still have the problem that them getting married would result in an alliance between the Veet Smokes and Big Mom. And who the fuck wants that? No one. That's dangerous as hell. Like, imagine. Just no. Just no. And on top of that, we also have the tomato box that's probably gonna explode at some point. Like, every single person in this fucking community has said, this box will explode. Yeah, we all agree it will explode. And a lot of people, including myself, agree that, yeah, this box exploding will probably be one of the factors in the Veet Smokes and Big Mom starting a war. Because how many believes that at some point this arc there'll be a war, some sort of war, fight, whatever, and Big Mom and the Veet Smokes will be on opposing sides? I think from what I've seen, at least 90% of the fandom believes this. I don't know, those 10% of you who don't, feel free to say why you don't, but I mean, that's just what I see. Last point about Sanji that's just off to me. I said that with what Luffy said in the last chapter, there's just no way Sanji would abandon him and let him starve to death. And on page 8 in Manga Stream, we literally have Sanji remembering, Luffy saying, I am not budging an inch from this spot, Sanji. And then we have someone who I assume is Niji saying, well, I'm sure he's not that idiotic to stay put after seeing an army like that. Luffy literally is that much of an idiot. Sanji knows this, Sanji knows how stubborn, like, I've said this. And yeah, I get that Sanji could just have given up at this point. That's probably the likely solution here, and someone will like tell him to get his act together because what the hell. But I still, with what happened last time, with Luffy putting his faith in Sanji, with Sanji acting just this like just teeny tiny bit off, and again I might just be reading too much into this, but I just feel like there's something beneath the surface and I'm either like imagining it or I'm just not completely sure what the fuck it is. Because as much as I would want Sanji to just be playing the perfect, like, masterful play, I don't think that's the case. I don't really think Oda does things like that. It would be amazing. You have no idea how much I would like this, but I think that's a fanfiction I need to write. But do you understand what I mean? I think just summing up what I think about the Sanji thing. He had given up, or like he fought, he was fighting, then he got the wristlets and he found out all the stakes. He gave up, Luffy came and he figured out, oh yeah, shit, they won't allow me to quit, there's no fucking way. And now he's kind of thinking again, because I'm done. Yeah. I don't even know what this was. I don't... Again, just to clarify, I know I sound insane. I know that. And again, with the knowledge that you have all watched other reviewers, hopefully this was different from what they said. Because they could all just accept that, well, people probably watch other people, so maybe I should say something different. I don't know, man. Yeah, feel free to leave in the comments below what you think about this chapter. How many of you are actually disappointed in Sanji? Because I feel like that's gonna be the majority of you guys. Because I feel like this chapter is gonna be people disappointed in Sanji, people defending Sanji like I did, and people who are just completely baffled. And I think most people are gonna be disappointed, which I totally understand, because I think just me defending Sanji this much, or just, I don't know, may just be a coping mechanism, but just because Luffy put his faith in him, because, just last point, who would save him? That's just the big, who would save him? I don't see it. I just don't see who would save him, and Sanji isn't willing to try to save himself. And this is still the year of Sanji. This is the year of Sanji's pain and turmoil, but it's also just the year of Sanji and his character development and his badass moments. gonna be annoying that we're on break next week, and I don't know what I'll do next week. I don't even. I have an all blue theory. Would anyone be interested? I don't know. But yeah, I'm gonna end this here. Since I did nothing of value, I'm not gonna tell you to like this, I'm not gonna tell you to subscribe, but I am gonna encourage you to leave some comments because I guess I want to see other people's reactions. I guess I'm gonna be annoyed that you're all gonna be disappointed in Sanji, but that's okay. That's okay, I understand. So yeah guys, until next time, bye!